Good morning, KW Milwaukee, on a beautiful Tuesday morning, August 22nd. Hopefully everybody had a nice little August ramping up, and that for those of you who have kids that are getting back to school, hopefully routine is back in your life somewhat. Or for those of you like myself, where my kids don't go back till Labor Day, the next 2 weeks are the longest 2 weeks of the year. Because there's no camps, there's no activities, there's nothing. And you're like, what do I do? But cool. So this morning, we're going to give you a little bit of a snapshot. There was about 30 of us that went down to Austin, Texas for Mega Camp. And over the next several weeks, I'm going to be planting some seeds for you from some of the nuggets and different things of ways in which that takeaways we took away from Mega Camp. This morning, though, I'm going to give you some industry insights that they opened the conference with. And this morning, I'll give you more so of the housing related statistics and data that they shared with us. And my goal is to break it down for you in 15 to 20 minutes or less in the most layman's terms possible. And then for you to kind of get your gears turning as to what it is that you need to do or need to be thinking about as to how you may operate or change or elevate what it is that you do to serve your clients. And then in the following weeks, I'm going to dig deeper into the macroeconomic trends as to what could be coming down the pike in 24 and 25 and some of the things we need to be paying attention to. And then we're going to overlay that with some of the playbooks and things in which KW released that Lindsay's going to walk through today to help you understand where those live and how you can dive into them. And then over the coming weeks in the trainings calendar, you're going to see some things popping up as to, okay, I have this really cool playbook. What do I do with it and how do I implement it? Make sense? So my goal today isn't to overwhelm you with information, more so is to say, look, I'm going to take it in digestible parts over the next 3 to 4 weeks to help you understand what it is and how it is that you can utilize it in the way in which to build your business. Cool? Sweet. All right. So mission, vision, values, beliefs, and perspectives. Always an important part of grounding ourselves in the foundation as to who we are and what we believe in as an organization and how in which it drives decisions moving forward, right? And in the mission statement, to build careers worth having, businesses worth owning, lives worth living, experiences worth giving, and legacies worth leaving. A few weeks ago, I talked about a couple things in the ways in which we give back to our community, and I got to give 2 quick shout outs. One, I know David Moe, Ethan Masson, Santi, and Kevin Gardy participated in John Lorenz's golf outing this past weekend. Those guys raised a bunch of money for This Time Tomorrow Foundation on behalf of the KW organization. And shout out to John Lorenz for everything he did again to do another sellout of like, I think 100 plus golfers at Ironwood Golf Course on how many? 35 groups of 4. So yeah, right around 100. That gave back to our community in a way. And so congrats to those guys. Thanks to those guys who participated and represented KW in a phenomenal way. And also congrats to John Lorenz for everything he's done over the last 10 to 15 years to raise an incredible amount of money. Second thing we talked about a little bit is we have this 2 funds, helps local education, in which that we divert funds through the organization in order to give back to our communities. One of the ways in which we've done that over the last several years is my mom and I have chaired an event for the Boys and Girls Club. Boys and Girls Club is near and dear to our heart. It's focused on the central city of Milwaukee and helping people serve the youth of our city on nights and weekends. And when are the youth of our city most exposed? On nights and weekends. So for the last 3 to 4 years, we've raised over $1 million for the Boys and Girls Club. And this year I said, hey, 3 years is a good year, or 3 years is a good run. The 4th year, it's time to pass it off to somebody else. So somebody else is sharing this year's event, but this Thursday, if you're interested, is this year's event. I know that there's already about 20 or 30 KW folks that are being incredibly gracious with their time, talent, energy, and resources that are going to be participating with us. But if it moves you and you want to participate, it's awesome. It's super casual, underneath the stars, and it touches your senses. You get to see it, you get to feel it, you get to smell it, you get to touch it. As to the purpose and energy behind what the Boys and Girls Club does. And so if you're interested, would love to have you join us this week, Thursday, in an incredible casual setting to help you understand how they take kids out of the city of Milwaukee and give them a safe space in areas where the majority of them have never swam in a pool. A lot of them have never touched a lake. Take them fishing and getting them out of the stressors of their environment. So that's this week, Thursday, the 24th, if you're interested. Cool. Beautiful. With that, we also have a whole bunch of people to celebrate. And the beauty of it is, and there's a lot of people taking advantage of the market of the moment. And there's always opportunity to take advantage of the market of the moment. So we're going to celebrate a handful of folks who capped in the month of July. First up, talk about a guy who left a very comfortable career at Milwaukee Electric Tool, had a very great financial career, teamed up with his wife, Elise, has a young family, Mike Bolt. Congrats on capping in the month of July. Next up, out in Lake Country, another one who manages both family life and professional life, has built a really nice luxury business. Lisa Erdman, congrats on capping in the month of July. Next up, Danielle Forrest, a part of JSG team. Danielle has been a powerhouse, a very interesting story about how you can develop in this business. And if you want to learn how, Danielle's a great story for you. She started as administrative support on a team, learned the business from the ground up, and then transitioned into being a sales associate. And Danielle has built herself an incredible career and an incredible income on building a sales business and learning it through the ground up. So congrats, Danielle, on capping in the month of July. Next up, Sarah Hansen, another great story, someone who is 22 years working in the Annapolis, Maryland real estate market. Later in life, transitioned back to Milwaukee to be closer to home and closer to family, and basically took the core principles and foundations of what she understood of how to build a business and built it in a new market, in a secondary market, and has built a great business. Congrats to Sarah on capping in the month of July. Next up, Jean Jaskowski. Jean was down with us at Mega Camp last week, taking all the nuggets she can away from all the tips and tricks of what she's learned from people across the country. Excited to see how Jean transforms her business in 2023 and beyond. Jean, congrats on capping in the month of July. Next up, Say's on the A-Key home team with Amanda Schroeder and those folks. Same thing. Say's been at this for 2-3 years. You can see incremental gains every single year she's been at this. Congrats, Say, for capping in the month of July. Next up, Tosa's own Ann Kleber. Congrats, Ann, for capping in the month of July. I got to give a little shout out to Ann. Back in the day when we first started the KW, what we now call innovation, back then it was just Tosa. We were in a space of maybe 500 square feet on North Avenue. And it was like a Jerry Maguire type moment. Ann walked up, knocked on the door. We met with her and said, "We don't know what we're going to do or where we're going." She's like, "All right, I'm in." And she's been an incredible member to our community, giving back to so many in the innovation office. And congrats on capping in the month of July. Next up, out in Lake Country, Kevin Matson, the leader of the Lake Country Optimist Club, and also the introduction that we had to Zacharias Acres, where we've been the last 3 years and supporting through Red Day. Kevin Matson, congrats on capping in the month of July. Next up, John McLaren, an incredible person, has some of the most interesting and unique deals, and you'll have to ask him what makes his deals interesting and unique. He may or may not have had repeated properties sold next to strip clubs, and he can talk all about it. There's real estate everywhere, but John's learned how to navigate how to sell multiple aspects of those businesses. So John, congrats on capping in the month of July. Next up, an incredible human. Talk about a transformation story and what she's gone through personally, but also what she's been able to do supporting the Duvall Real Estate Group, as well as building a sales business. A single mom supporting 2 incredible kids. JOC, congrats on capping in the month of July. Next up, another agent that was with us down in Austin, Texas, learning the tips and tricks. Big shout out to Emily Fair and her team. Just most recently, guys, she sells not only in Milwaukee, but as well as $100 million book of business in downtown Chicago. And as of this month, their team just surpassed $50 million in sales in southeastern Wisconsin. Emily is an incredibly powerful woman, great person to know, 2 young kids. She's learning how to navigate it like the rest of us. Congrats, Emily, on capping in the month of July. Next up, Ellen Pertel. Another incredible human, incredible woman, has been in this business for a long time. Her father ran Federated Realty, for those of you guys who know, on the east side for a long time. Ellen Pertel has been an incredible woman, really, really incredible biker too. The woman is incredibly strong. Ellen, congrats on capping in the month of July. And then next up, out in Lake Country, Shayna. Shayna's been with us for about 1.5 years, 2 years. Incredible woman, continues to work at the business every single day, learning new things, learning from Leanne and others as she can to continue to build her business. Congrats, Shayna, on capping in the month of July. Also out in Lake Country, Nada, she just started in this business about 2 years ago, came onto the scene, burst onto the scene, incredible woman. Also, I got to give a shout out to her husband. Her husband's an incredible CPA. So for those of you who are running small businesses, as you should, hint, hint, if you need a little CPA recommendation, Nada's husband's an incredible resource. Nada, congrats on capping in the month of July. So there you go. A ton of people to celebrate in the month of July. A lot of success. Incredibly excited to see it. And congrats for all of those of you who earned a big payday increase for the rest of the year through your anniversary dates. Congrats on capping in the month of July. Now, today is August 22nd. Yesterday was August 21st. Simple answer. This is like the audience participation part, right? What happens on the 21st of every month? We pay out profit share. Something that you should be thinking about or considering, and I'm going to plant a seed for you. In July, yesterday, we paid out $118,000 to associates. Okay, that was a 20% increase over July of last year. So far, year to date, we've paid out over $500,000 to associates, and it gets paid out on the 21st of every month. It's up basically 1% over last year through the year. Why is this important to you, and what does it mean? Here's something to consider. Okay, I did a little math yesterday. In 1 month, okay, for the $118,000 that was paid out for July yesterday, there were 63 associates who earned at least $500. There were 36 associates who earned at least $1,000. And there were 11 associates who earned more than $2,500 on one day for doing nothing other than being an incredible person that leverages their leadership and influence, right? And I share with you these statistics during a 1 month time to say, there's like roughly 100 people that made a significant amount of income. And the other way in which that you can look at it, and I'll use Nick Fetting as an example. Nick Fetting made over $1,000. Text Nick Fetting. Nick Fetting, you know what his response is? Thanks for paying my car payment this month, plus some. Hey, thanks for paying my mortgage payment this month, and some. Hey, thanks for taking my entire family on vacation this month, and some. It's all money that just shows up on the 21st. It's getting paid out. You're either taking advantage of it or you're allowing other associates to take advantage of it for you. So I would encourage you, as you think about, as you business plan for 2024, what does passive income mean for you, and how do you leverage your opportunity of being an incredible associate and the influence you have with your co-brokes to say, there may be more to this game other than just selling homes and the way in which that I can make an incredible income. And I'll give a shout out to KG, who's sitting in the back of the room, and I'm looking right at him. KG, for the last several years, has made more in profit share than what he's contributed to his cap. So something to think about or consider. He's basically getting paid to stay at KW, right?
You have an example. We just signed stuff at my career about for a year of school, and it paid for his school for a year, and I had like $3.
KG just said that he signed his 3-year-old Stefan up for school. He had tuition payments, and the money he's made this year in profit share has paid yesterday's one payment. Yesterday's one payment paid for his entire school year's tuition. So, something to think about. Cool. All right, quick few operations updates for you, and then I'll jump back into I'll jump into some of the Mega Camp things. Again, I've learned in this business, having done this long enough, I have to hit you with things 100 times before things start to stick. And we're 8 weeks into this new way in which that we share information as it relates to new listings, excludeds, and coming soons. What we're looking to gather is the information you have that isn't on the MLS, and you're going to get bombarded on Fridays and on Mondays, so we can gather the information in order to send it back out to you. The reason why I know that this is starting to gain momentum and continuing to seed deeper into the organization is we're getting phone calls from Shore West, we're getting phone calls from Firefly, we're getting phone calls from Coldwell Banker if we would share the list. We can't share the list, but it means that the list is gaining steam and momentum as to what we're able to do to leverage the economies of scale in being the market leader in terms of the listing units that we have. And the more that we are able to share that information, the higher likelihood that we can help you guys facilitate more deals, right? And so be on the lookout for that on Fridays and Mondays. And then the goal is to get it out Monday afternoons or early Tuesday, because we still have to clean it up based on the way in which the rules, MLS rules and regs, to keep you out of any potential fines. And it's funny, I will say as a sidebar, a few people have come up and said, hey, the list is delayed. Hey, the list is delayed. The reason why the list gets delayed is because we have to actually clean it up to protect you from yourselves, because you're actually sharing too much sometimes information on things that you can't. And so we clean it up in order to risk mitigate the information that is being shared out. Make sense? Beautiful. All right, next up on the 5 and 5 series, talk about apropos timing. I didn't even know that KG, you were next one. KG's 5 and 5 will drop tomorrow. Learn a little bit more about what makes him tick, how he's been able to build a big business. And I'm willing to bet you'll have a better understanding as to how he's been able to take advantage of the profit sharing opportunity that will drop tomorrow. So take a look for that conversation with Willis and KG dropping tomorrow. All right, here we go. Mega Agent Camp. Okay. As I talked about earlier, I'm going to start seeding some information of which that I think is important that you should be paying attention to, so that you can make good, sound decisions as it relates to the way in which that you run your business today and moving forward. Okay. Today's focus, I'm going to focus on the industry, specifically the residential real estate industry. In the coming weeks, I'll focus on the macroeconomic updates, and we will continue to seed in some of the playbooks and ways in which that you can shift or pivot your business in order to take advantage of new business opportunities and some of the incredible playbooks that have come from Mega Camp. Sound good? Because as I said, going into Mega Camp, and I will continue to say coming out of Mega Camp, it's not average camp, it's Mega Camp. Everybody who had up on stage earned net $1 million last year. One of the examples, and we'll dive into this in a few weeks, I'm just kind of trying to give you a little foreshadowing of what's to come. They interviewed an agent. His name is Ken Posick. Okay. Ken Posick is a content and media creator who happens to sell real estate. You can look him up on Instagram. His YouTube channel is actually where he does most of his content. He creates content all around the Orlando area and has built this an incredibly powerful real estate team. Well, he says they just happen to sell real estate, leveraging the content they put out on YouTube. And the YouTube channel is their lead generation funnel. And so they interviewed people like that in order to give you guys diversity of thought and diversity of approach. That's the purpose behind Mega Camp, not average camp. Make sense? And if you get to think about ways in which that you can implement some of these ideas in your business, it may help you take advantage of opportunities in order to take market share within the current market in the moment. So let's jump into it. Real estate industry trends. What are they seeing? What are they hearing? What are they paying attention to? Some of the things. The other thing that you'll see in this as well, just as a little heads up, I took some of the national data and overlaid some of our local data so that you can compare the trends, because there are some interesting things that are happening nationally that aren't happening locally, but things that we need to be paying attention to as to what could be coming down the pike for us locally. Cool? Awesome. All right. Home sales on an annual basis. This is going back to 1990, and this gives you on an annual basis the amount of homes sold in the millions. And the dotted line is the projected for 2023. So you can see it as a comparison over basically the last 30 years. Okay. They're projecting this year that the US economy will end up selling around 4.3 million homes. Now, interestingly enough, you can see that in comparison's sake, that is about the equivalent of where we were in 9, 10, and 11. In terms of total units sold in the US. Something to pay attention to is the reason why in which that you may be feeling the pain on the unit side of the business, but the reason why you haven't maybe have felt as much pain on the income side of the business is because the appreciation we've seen over the last 3 to 4 years. Remember, the appreciation in value is something that the market gives you. The agent controls your units. And so one of the things that I challenged you with 2 weeks ago is so far this year, there have been 22,000 units that have been sold. Based on what your business plan is and what your goals are, how many units do you need to sell? But as we look to this, you can see we are very much in a period of somewhat of the tide receding from a unitary standpoint at 4.3 million units that are projected to be sold in 2023. Now, Home sales on a monthly basis. I'm going to point you out to the top right part of the screen first. And this is the seasonal income cycle. You can see January, February, March, April. There's typically less income. And then it jumps May, June, July, August, September. Now, we're sitting here in July, August time period. We're heading into September, October, November, right? And I've said this many, many times before. I believe the market has crested in southeastern Wisconsin from a seasonal standpoint. Right? The data is starting to show us this, right? August was a little bit better than we had projected. However, we had start to see the market had crested really in July from a seasonal standpoint. Now, if you look at this, then the purple lines is projected home sales on an annual basis based on velocity on a monthly standpoint. So you can see last year in January, the market was very bullish based on velocity. And then all of a sudden February hit. We've talked about this many times before. There were a lot of geopolitical things at play that slowed the market down beginning in February, really truly into March. And then you can see how that impacted the rest of the year as rate hikes continued to go up. The war on Ukraine continued to kind of rage on, how that impacted capital markets. Interestingly enough, now what you see in the light blue line is the seasonally adjusted projection on an annual basis for 2023. So as I stated before, they were projecting on an annual basis about 4.3 million through June. Now, and you could see that really lived out and played out through from February through about May. June, it slowed down a bit. We're still waiting on July's data from a velocity standpoint. But you could see, depending on how August, September, October lays out, we could be coming in slightly, the market could be slowing down a bit faster. So it's something that we're going to be paying attention to, and then I'll be paying attention to locally in order for you guys to best understand how to prepare your business and think about how you manage your money as we head into the seasonal income cycle that is on a downswing heading in here to the Q3, Q4 period. Make sense? So a lot of you made really, really good incomes June, July, and August. I look at it every day. The incomes you make versus the incomes you made the year before. Make good decisions as to how you can plan for Q3, Q4, Q1. Okay. Don't go and buy your brand new car that you've always wanted because all of a sudden you had $100,000 a month and you think you're living on a high horse, because in November and December, you may need those acorns stashed away for a period of time. Make sense? Think about your business as a business and start planning ahead for the future based on the seasonality of what we're about to enter. Now, home prices on an annual basis, okay? This is, again, going back over a 30-year period. What you see in the light blue trend line, okay, is the long-term annualized trend. Long-term trend across the U.S. housing industry is about a 4% hike in appreciation on an annual basis. You can see from 1990 up until about 02 that followed the trend. From then 02 through about 07, it was home prices appreciated at paces almost 2x that, almost 6, 7, 8%. And then what happened? Got in a little bit of trouble. 08 happened, and then it took from basically 09 to about 20, a 10-year span, for the appreciation to catch up on the annualized 4% trend that's been seen in history. Now, the interesting thing here is we've head into 21, 22, 23. I want you to hear me on this. The macroeconomic forces are very different than them at play, are very different than they were in 05, 06, 07. Okay, there's a lot more demographic reasons at play for the demand side, which we've talked about on numerous occasions. Okay, that's driving a lot of this, the appreciation trends. And in 2023, we're seeing about a continued 7% above trend line. It is somewhat concerning, and it's part of the reason why you continue to see rate hikes the way in which they are, because the Fed understands they have to slow this down, because this continued appreciation puts pressures on every other macroeconomic force at play as it relates to how they manage inflation. Okay, appreciation is a good thing. Too much appreciation is a bad thing in the most layman's terms possible, which is why, as of basically this week and last week, we've seen the highest rates we've seen in 20 plus years. We'll get into the rates here in a second. Make sense? So something we'll want to pay attention to. Now, as it relates to prices and the market dynamics as it relates to Milwaukee or the southeastern Wisconsin 5-county metro area. I just looked at this over the last 2 years, okay? And you can see on a monthly basis, the dotted line is the average for the last 2 years on the median price sold in southeastern Wisconsin. Now, you can see that this trend line, we're far above trend line over the last 2 years, especially in the last 5 to 6 months. Homes have continued to appreciate, and I believe truly this continues to be the market at play in terms of supply and demand. Supply continues to go down. Demand really hasn't subsided due to the market dynamics, which is why we continue to see the appreciation rates that we've seen. On a 2-year basis, the appreciation's been about up 17%. If you look at back the last 3 to 4 years, effectively, if you have a client who bought a home in 4 years ago, in 2018, 2019, they've seen about a 30 to 35% home appreciation in a 4-year period, which is crazy. The reason why I give you that nugget is there is opportunity to be had based on the message in which you send. And I'm going to go through some scenarios for you in how you capture the market opportunity here heading into 2024. Now, inventory on a monthly basis, this is something interesting to pay attention to on a macro basis, okay? This is the seasonal inventory, months of supply inventory. Purple is where it was in 2022. You can see in January, it was at 1.6, and it was really, really rising through the balance of the year in 2022. Then all of a sudden we get into 2023, which is the light blue line. And you can see during the seasonal period of which, you know, the spring season, it peaked up. It continued to hover around the three months of supply on a US basis. Where we're paying attention to this is the fact, if you look at May of this year versus May of last year, 2.6 versus 3.0. If you look at June of this year, 3.1 versus 2.9. The more that we continue to see months of supply inventory go up, tells us two things on a macro basis across the US. One, the inventory situation is alleviating slightly, which also means we have to be really, really sharp with our pricing dynamics to make sure that we're communicating effectively at how we help maximize our sellers' return on their investment. But also, this is the first indication of where we will start to see slowing appreciation. If we're starting to see months of supply tick up, you'll start to see slowing appreciation. Now, the one caveat to that is this is our southeastern Wisconsin market, okay? The southeastern Wisconsin market, couple things here at play that you should be paying attention to. The average months of supply is the bar graphs, okay? Average months of supply. What you see here on the dotted line is the correlated days on market trend. And the reason why we overlay these two things together is twofold. One, if months of supply is going up and days of supply is going up, it should be a red light indicator as to where the market's headed. But as months of supply has really in 2023 somewhat remained stagnant, July we saw a bit of a blip up, and still it's below 2 months of supply inventory right now, sitting at 1.9 months, which the reason why I share this with you is because the national average is 3.1. Okay, so it's 33% higher nationally than it is in southeastern Wisconsin. This is where I'm trying to help you understand the dynamics at play here. We have to pay attention to the national trends, but I'm also here to tell you that on a local real estate industry, we're in a very basically similar position we've been in. Homes are selling at velocity rates that we've seen and we've continued to operate in. And it isn't as if the alarm bells are going off like they are, for example, in Austin, Texas. Okay. Austin is following trend lines like this in terms of their months of supply inventory. What's happened? You're starting to see price depreciation. Okay. We haven't seen that yet in southeastern Wisconsin, but it's something I'm paying attention to on a national macro level as to what may impact us moving forward into Q1 of 24 and beyond. Make sense? Cool. There's a lot of data here, and I'm just trying to give you the real estate stuff, and I'm trying to give it to you in the Cliff Notes version of a 2-hour speech. The other thing I'll tell you is all of this data and this information will be accessible to you through the KW Realty MKE website, where you can find this week's team meeting after the meeting. Cool? Beautiful. Now, new home starts. Southeastern Wisconsin, less than 1% of our total market is new construction. However, on a national basis, New construction is a very, very, very important thing as we look about alleviating the supply issue within the industry. Okay. New home starts. Now, long-term average is the dotted line. The blue bar graphs is the new single-family home starts in the thousands. In 2023, it peaked in 2021. And look, you can see where it was in 2005 and what it took to recover from coming out of 08. But 2021, what started to happen in 2022, we saw inflationary pressures as it relates to labor and goods, which I believe impacted where 2022 home starts are and 2023 home starts are, right? And it kind of shook the confidence of home builders. Here's where I would tell you the positive of coming into 2023 is, again, not a huge part of the market in southeastern Wisconsin, but something we pay attention to nationally of alleviating the supply issue. Is we're starting to see an uptick in two things. One is new single family home sales in the thousands of projected. We're starting to see a bounce back a bit across the country. And the other thing is the builder confidence index, which comes out of this variety of different data points. The builder's confidence index in December of 2022 was, I would say, the lowest it's been in the last 3 to 4 years. However, a short 7 months later, you can see the upswing in builder confidence heading into July. New home starts are something that this economy needs to help alleviate the supply issues because the demographic issues on the demand side aren't going anywhere anytime soon. Again, less than 1% of the southeastern Wisconsin market, but sometimes we have to deal with clients who get their information on national levels, and we have to be able to help delineate between what is national and what is local. Make sense? Mortgage rates. Here's where they talk a little bit about mortgage rates. In 2023, well, let me stay back. The historical average going back to 1972 to 2021 is 7.81%, basically over a 50-year period. Okay. If you look back at the historical average, which is the green dotted line from 1990 to 2021, the historical average over basically the last 30 years has been 5.7%. It was only until we got into 2023 where we surpassed the last 30-year rate index average. And we are still below basically the last 50-year rate index average. Okay. Rates are what they are. It's one of the levers in which they pull in order to control inflationary periods. Now, as you see here, this is the mortgage rates on a monthly basis. You can see December of 2020 at 2.68% at all-time historical lows. And then what happened? All of a sudden, 2022, coming out of 2022 hit. We've talked about the geopolitical pressures at play as it relates to the capital markets. October of 2022, we saw 6.9%. In 2023, we have continued to see strong GDP measures, which has continued the inflationary pressures, which is why we continue to see the high rate environment for the foreseeable future is where we currently sit around basically 7% from a rate market. Cool. All right, affordability. What has this done as it relates to affordability? There's two factors at play here: increase in rates and increase in appreciation. So you can see here, the dotted line is the historical average across the US of affordability. It's 27%. So 27% of a household's income goes to their basically their living needs. You can see as it relates to 2023, because of the rate hikes and because of the appreciation, you can now see it's hovering around 29%. We saw this increase in 2006, and we saw this increase in the early 1980s. So what you'll start to see, again, as the Fed looks at this, is how they slow appreciation is increasing the rates, right, a little bit. And they want this to be around basically below 27%, to be around the historical average. And so that's some of the levers in which they pulled, if you go back to 9, 10, 11, and 12, to help us get to where we saw this line basically as it is. And then all of a sudden 2022 hit and we saw appreciation, inflation, and everything else go up. So these are like the two levers they're trying to pull to control how it is affordability is played within the US. In the mortgage universe, here's where your opportunity is. And we've talked about this a little bit. And if I wasn't paying attention for the last 4 minutes because it was too much data, here's where I would tune back in. Okay. 89% of mortgages in the US have a less than a 5% rate. 89% of US mortgages are less than a 5% rate. Oop, I think I got a little out of whack. So where's the opportunity? There's 87 million homeowners in the US. 90% of them effectively have less than a 5% rate. And we have a low supply situation or scenario. What's the opportunity? 39% of all homeowners in the US own their home outright. 61% of them have mortgages. Okay. So a third of the entire US housing market doesn't have a mortgage right now. What is the equity that they're sitting on? And of the 61% with mortgages, let's take a deeper dive into that. Oh, and it didn't transfer. I'll fix the slides. Here's what you need to know. Of the 61%, there's about 2/3 that have more than 50% equity in their home. Okay. The opportunity in this is, how are you becoming the economist of choice to helping people understand the equity they may have available, and then what it is that they do with that equity if they decide to trade up or trade down. There's where the opportunity lies. Now, 70%, sorry, I misspoke. I said 2/3. 70% of homeowners have at least 50% of equity in their homes. Okay. Here's an interesting scenario that you should be paying attention to as it relates to how you advise your clients into the choices that they make. And I'm going to play 4 scenarios with you, and I'm going to try and lay this out as easily as possible. Do they want to trade up their home, or do they want to trade up their car? Trading up their car, for every $50,000 in car debt that they take on today at current rates, you're losing in $200,000 in home purchasing power. Remember, the average car interest rate is around 8% that annualizes over a 5-year period. Okay. The average homeowner is around 7% if in today's rates. It's spread out over a 30-year period. Okay. For every $50,000 in car debt in today's rates, you actually are losing $200,000 in home purchasing power. So there's 2 ways in which that you can approach the opportunities here. 1, how much equity do people have in their homes? And 2, how are we helping them make good financial decisions in order to take advantage of the market at the moment? Okay. Scenario 1, you bought a $200,000 home in 2014. The scenario is you keep living in your current home and you buy your dream car, a $100,000 2022 Jeep Grand Wagoneer, $90,000 financed at 8% for 5 years. So your car payment is $1,800, your mortgage payment's $1,500, your total debt's $3,300. Now, here's an interesting scenario in which that someone should be considering. You have that same $200,000 home that you purchased in 2014. You own a truck that you bought in 2015. Same thing as before. Okay. You decide, instead of buying the Jeep Wagoneer for $100,000, you keep your truck and you sell your home that is now worth, because of the appreciation since 2014, now worth $400K. And you buy your dream home at $650K. What you've done is you've essentially eliminated your car payment since it's paid off. Yes, your mortgage rate nearly more than doubles. However, your total debt ratio between the 2 items remains the same. Okay, 3,300, 3,300. Now, let's take a look at someone who bought a home at $400K in 2014. Okay, their mortgage payment is $3,194. They also own a truck they bought in 2015. You keep living in your current home and you buy the $100,000 Jeep. So your car payment is $1,800. Your mortgage payment is $3,194. Your total debt service is $4,800. Now, based on appreciation since 2014, the $400,000 home is now worth $800,000. And you buy your dream home for $1.1 million. You have $545,000 as a down payment at a 7% rate. You don't have a car payment because you made a good financial decision. Yes, your mortgage rate effectively close to doubles to $5,100 a month, but your total debt service remains the same at $4,400, and you're gaining equity on an appreciable asset. Very, very fascinating scenario. And I truly believe the more that you're able to articulate a scenario similar to this and helping people understand how in which that they can gain net worth on their balance sheets versus buying depreciable assets, such as a car, it's a very simple example, is how you can be able to attract more of what it is that you desire to do. Okay. And the key to this is, for every $50,000 in car debt at today's rates, you actually lose $200,000 in purchasing power. I'll share these scenarios with you that you can download on today's team meeting slides so that you can get a better idea of, as people or consumers are making decisions with what to do with debt and how they can leverage debt in order to gain more balance sheet wealth, and how you can be the avenue to help them do that. Make sense? There's the first big seed I'll plant for you as to what tree will grow from it. Cool. There you go. On a big scale, there's the quick breakdown for the US housing market as it stands today. I will go further into the macroeconomic trends as to what's impacting our economy here in the next few weeks. But I'm actually going to kick it over to, or before I do that, these are some of the things that come from Mega Camp. Okay. This year's family reunion is February 25th to the 29th in Las Vegas. Here's what I'd also tell you. If insights like this and learning from your peers across the country, diversity of thought and diversity of approach is a highly powerful tool. If you're interested in that, I highly, highly, highly recommend Family Reunion in February 25th to 29th in 2024. Here's why. To me, this is the choose your own adventure. Mega Camp truly focuses on very big businesses that sometimes conceptually are hard to understand or how you implement. If let's just say you're a 5, 10, $15 million producer. Right? That's why sometimes what some of the content in which they share is lost in translation because it's such a unicorn example. The beautiful part about Family Reunion, you get very similar macro trends as to what's coming down the market, but then it's a choose your own adventure because everything is a breakout. If you need to learn how to best leverage your support and admin systems, you go to that breakout. If you're a $10 million producer and you want to get to $20 million producer, go learn the systems, the playbooks, and everything that people do in order to 2x their business. That's a breakout. And you're with like-minded people who are trying to achieve similar things. And it's the largest mastermind in the industry. So if you're interested, I would highly recommend you kind of check this out. February 29th to 25th to the 29th, 2024 in Las Vegas for KW Family Reunion. Cool? All right, so I shared a lot of data, a lot of trends, a lot of things to get you guys to think. Now I'm going to flip it over to Lindsay, who's going to share with you some of the resources that KW came out with at Mega Camp as it relates to the playbooks and how do you implement new ideas and strategies to help you take advantage of the market of the moment. Lindsay, I'm flipping it to you.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. So as Charlie covered, ton of really great content that is always released during Mega Camp every single year. And so what Keller Williams does really well is they put it together in one spot so that you can easily find it. And so we've added everything to our KW Realty MKE.com website. You'll find everything under that resources tab. And so if you scroll down, you'll see a section for Keller Williams event resources. So if you're looking for family reunion, Mega Camp from last year, all of those specific KW events, we've got a Mega Camp 2023 tab now. That's going to link you to a Google Drive folder with literally everything from Mega Camp. That includes the economic update slides that Charlie just went over. And so that whole entire slide deck is in there for you to view, download, do whatever you'd like with it. So including the update slides, you've also got the systems and tactics. So really bite-sized pieces into specific topics, including wealth building, farming, open houses, referrals, networking, creating your own MOFR, online leads, leverage, listings and buyers, events, marketing, managing your database, a ton more than just that. And next slide, Charlie. So besides having everything on our local website, Keller Williams also has everything on the Connect tab in Command. So a few weeks ago, I went through where to find this and how to grab all of the different resources that Keller Williams offers. So everything relating to Mega Camp is also located in Command. Click on that Connect tab, and then you'll see that Mega Camp 2023. And there's also a QR code in the resources in the Google Drive that will take you to this link as well. And so diving into some of the specific content that you'll find in here, I just grabbed a couple that I thought were really interesting. So going back to if you're interested in wealth building, they have the 5 things that the most profitable agents are doing. So if you're interested in learning more about what what mega agents, what kind of financial habits they have. They're just one-sheeters with these specific topics. The other one that I found really interesting, how to use Facebook groups to engage your database. So I know a lot of you are involved in specific Facebook groups pertaining to your neighborhoods or your kids' schools. And so it actually has, the great thing about this is actually it pulls in other agents, what they're doing, and they're doing it at a high level, specifically, how to engage your database with these private Facebook groups. And so this one in particular, this is an actual agent's like what she does to engage that group. And so this one I love because at the bottom, you'll see other ways to engage your database. And it breaks it out by monthly, different things that you can do. So if you're looking to kind of engage your database and build a 36 touch and you don't really know what to do every single month, this has very specific ideas monthly. So different sheets like this, you'll find different systems, different tactics for all sorts of different content. So again, wealth building, your database, marketing, all sorts of things. And so we're going to be kind of piecing together some of these playbooks and these one-sheeters and developing some trainings through the rest of the year. So stay tuned for that because a lot of really great content. But if you're interested, all of these are in our website and on Connect through Command.
So Lindsay, let me challenge the group real quick. There's two agents that need to be paying attention right now. One, you're in a rut. You found a little bit of complacency in your business. You don't know what to do, and you need to reinvent who it is that you are and what it is that you're doing. Lean on the playbooks from those that are doing these things at the highest level as to what it is that they do. The most often question I get asked is, what does XYZ agent do that makes them so successful? The beauty of the playbooks that came out of Mega Camp is they went and interviewed those people, put the playbooks on a sheet of paper and said, do this. 90% of people, don't know how to look it up, and the other 10% don't do it. And so when you sit here and say, oh, woe is me, I'm complacent, or this, that, and the other, or your business is stuck in a rut, figure out a way in which that you diversify your lead gen. Okay. It's the whole phrase, the world is run by those who show up. Show up, look at the playbooks, implement what it is that they tell you to do, and you will have success. It's a pretty simple measure. The question is, do you start today or do you start tomorrow? And those that say, I'll start Monday are the ones that are saying they start Monday every Monday. And guess what? They don't do anything. So I would check them out. Lindsay, what about the MREA playbook?
Yeah, so also released during Mega Camp, the MREA Real Estate Agent Playbook. So it's containing over 100 different systems, models, and action plans. So they do just a really nice job of tying everything together into this one playbook that you can purchase online for $20. So that QR code is going to take you right to where you can purchase it. But it's just a really nice, if you, like to have something physical in hand to kind of write over and make notes and things like that, this is a really great option for you. And again, over 100 systems and things that you can implement. Really great stuff.
What you track will ultimately improve.
All right. And then finally, I just wanted to go over just a couple of trainings that we have available in regards to marketing and tech. So a couple weeks ago, Keller Williams released the new ads experience through Command. So Kathleen and I have been doing some in-person trainings to teach that and learn that new system. So we have our final in-person training today at the North Shore office. Sorry, guys, I don't have the time on here. It's at 2 p.m. So join me today in the North Shore at 2 o'clock if you're interested in learning more about the new paid ads experience through Command. And then we will be doing a Zoom training on that too in September. So stay tuned for that. And then finishing out the month, this Thursday back on Zoom at 11, we've got organizing your Command account with tasks and checklists. So how to really stay organized with contact related tasks, checklists, opportunity tasks, and things like that. And then finally, August 31st, we're going to talk about the best ways to get reviews. So how do you ask for reviews? Where should you get them? and how you can display those, manage those, and all of that. So that's training for the rest of the month. Stay tuned for some more exciting updates in September. I won't say any more than that, but more to come. Exciting stuff coming from KW.
Cool. Vranik, thank you. Guys, I highly encourage you, go look at the playbooks. Go look at the playbooks. Go look at the playbooks. You don't know what to do. You're brand new. Go implement somebody's playbook. You're complacent. Your business is stuck. You're going backwards. Go look at a playbook. Implement. Okay. All right. Here we go. I'm going to fly through this in the interest of time. Upcoming trainings and events. The August calendar. Pay attention to it. August 20th or Wednesday 23rd at 10 a.m. in the North Shore, coffee with Sarah Jo Dietrich. Need to learn more, pick her brain, incredibly successful woman, part of our contract helpline. Check that out. Next up, Profit Mastermind via Zoom is also Wednesday the 23rd from 1 to 2. Scott will lead you through how do you manage your finances in a way in which that you can manage to a net profit, because you are in this business to make a net profit. The example I use all the time, I met with a $40 million producer once, okay? If they're running their financials properly, they should have made around $700,000 to $800,000 in net income that year. The year that we met, a $40 million producer, she had $72,000 in net income. She was mismanaging her finances. Okay. If you have interest in learning how to run your business like a business, jump onto the Zoom with Scott for tomorrow from 1 to 2. Next up, meet and greet breakfast in the Southwest office on Thursday, the 24th. We'll keep going. We talked a little bit about profit share this morning. 63 people made more than $500. Okay. Another 30 or so made north of 1,000. You want to learn from those that are doing it at the highest level and how they're earning a significant amount of passive income. Learn from Martha, Annie, Kevin, and James. All four of them are incredible people, and all four of them work in different market centers, and all four of them have different tactics and tricks in the way in which they take advantage of the conversation around profit share. So August 30th, starting at 10 a.m., I'll lead the discussion via Zoom. Cool. KWYP, for those of you under 40, there's a chapter launch September 8th and 9th in beautiful downtown Milwaukee. Check it out. September 8th and 9th. Stay tuned. We'll have that group with us next week to talk a bit more about that. Lastly, September 27th, save the date. We have a guest speaker coming in to help you kick off your 2024 business planning. And we're going to do vision boards as well as a bit of an inspirational morning down on the lakefront at the War Memorial. Stay tuned for more information, but September 27th from 9 to 11. Lastly, save the date for the KW holiday party. The one event I noticed has the highest engagement of all of our associates in Southeastern Wisconsin. Friday, December 1st, 6 p.m. down at the St. Kate Arts Hotel. It'll be a great venue, a great evening with all of our associates. Cool. All right, guys, there you go. A lot of information, a lot of data. We're going to continue to hit it to you and bring you value in the coming weeks as to what came out of Mega Camp. And we're going to dive deeper into the playbooks to help you implement in order to take advantage of how you continue to grow market share despite the current market of the moment trends. Because here's what I know. There are people that are growing in 2023. The question is, are you growing, or are your competitors growing in spite of where your business stands? Sound good? Guys, thanks for showing up. The world is run by those who show up. We'll talk to you guys next week on Tuesday. Thanks, guys.